be with you at last. Thank you for your patience and waiting for us to come on air. And tonight we're looking at the news headlines because there's quite a lot of them. Do join us, ring in and share your thoughts on the topics of the day. With me to help talk about the news, to discuss the news, I've got Julian Sharpe, who's our guest this evening. You've seen him before and he's kindly come into our studio. So this is not our first live broadcast from the studio with a guest, but nearly. So we're going to go straight in. What should we talk about first? How about bye-bye Boris? That's what we've been saying. Is this really now, at last, the end of Boris Johnson? Surely not. What do you think, Julian? Is he going to go?
I think he'll be kicking and screaming from number 10. Incidentally, thank you very much for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here. No, I genuinely think he will hold on for as long as he possibly can. And I don't think the members, the MPs of the Tory party have a lot of gumption to check him out, actually.
How do you think that's going to happen? Because there's such a mood amongst Tory MPs, it seems. I mean, we've got one of the sort of images that went around the media recently was Boris speaking in the House of Commons and Priti Patel just putting her head in her hands. I don't know if we've got a shot of that to show you. And sort of moving about a bit as if she just desperately wanted to jut in. But so it's quite a mood amongst MPs to get rid of Johnson. What's holding them back then? Why didn't they just have the letters of no confidence, the 1922 committee, get rid of him, gone? What's holding them back?
I think there's a lot of bad news to come in the next few months. And I think they want him to take the rap for it, basically.
Oh, you mean other bad news?
Yes, unfortunately, I think so, yes. But,
so it's like a good premiership for releasing bad news to misquote the...
Well, it's kind of like a board of directors knowing they've got a bad manager, but they've got some poor results to come. So rather than put a new manager in and have some poor results for their first few games, I think they'd rather the old manager take the rap for some poor results, and then when some easy games are coming up, they'll put a new manager in.
Okay, so basically Boris is going for relegation, and then we'll see what comes next. I mean, I think big danger. I think what's keeping the Tories divided is, first of all, what kept them divided in the first place, which saw them swinging about, wondering whether to have Boris, which is does the world get out of the global economic crisis that began in 2008 with that big economic crash? And is it going to go for austerity, or is it going to go for not making the workers pay immediately to build, so they can build up the economy again? Because workers, of course, are also consumers. So I think that's one thing. So
I think they've answered that, haven't they?
Have they?
Yeah, because I mean, this increase in national insurance, for example, a whole load of Tory MPs have said, well, cancel it, just cancel it for a year, give the illusion the increase isn't going to come. But Rishi Sunak and the Treasury and Boris Johnson was side by side with Rishi Sunak a couple of days ago to say the increase is going ahead. So I think they've answered it in that respect. And there's the increase in the energy prices as well that's coming up. And I don't think they intend doing anything about that. So I think people are going to be hit really hard the next few months.
So it's also going to be austerity without calling it austerity. Who was the Tory Prime Minister who said we had to have austerity? Times are going to be tough, but then we'll bounce back. I can't remember which.
Well, I think all of them have said that in one form or another. But David Cameron, I think, was the one, especially with the coalition government in 2010, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's people are going to go through some very hard times the next few months. Inflation is, what is it, 5% CPI? It's 7% if you go to the old measure that they got rid of because it's so high. So, people's living standards are being reduced by 7% a year with without talking about the energy increases, without talking about the increase in national insurance contributions. And
isn't that going to make the economy just dive? Because if it's all very, it's not like an altruistic, poor people are going to have a hard time. It's a case if we're all going to have a hard time, the poor harder than most. But as I keep saying, the workers who are going to be poor are also the consumers. So as living standards go down, people are not going to be going to the hairdressers. That's what I always say, use as an example, going to the hairdressers once a week. It's going to be once a month if you're lucky. Home perms. And all the hospitality industry is bound to suffer. So all this talk about, let's rescue the hospitality industry. That's why they're not stepping in to rescue it, because they wanted it to disappear in the first place. But that's all going to shrink the economy. I think they're stuck.
Yeah, I mean, they're between a rock and a hard place, as you say. Whatever they do is going to end up badly. Perhaps not for them, perhaps not for the establishment and that, but certainly for the rest of us.
Yeah. So what do you think, viewers? Do you think Boris should go? What should we do? Should we go out to writing to Tory MPs saying, put your letter of no confidence in now? Or should we just wait for Boris to, as Julian advises, wait for relegation and a ghastly departure? But of course, who are they going to replace him with?
Good question. I don't know.
See, I think that's
and I'm not going to advise them as well.
Yeah, that's the other thing that I think that's the other reason why they're being hesitant.
Yeah, absolutely.
They don't know who else to put in.
Well, I mean, do they go for Rishi Sunak, was the most popular minister because of all the the things that happened during the pandemic, but is quickly becoming the most unpopular minister, of course. And I don't know. As I said, I'm not a Tory MP, thank goodness. But I'll go for Liz Truss who, so we spent what was it? Was it £500,000 on travelling to Australia and back a few weeks ago? And chartered a military aircraft, I think, when she could have flown, like everybody else on an airline. Difficult choice for them, I think. And as you say, I think that plays into.
I think they're stuck. They've just got no substitute, have they? There's no manager on the substitutes bench to try to keep this analogy going very badly. You're right. I mean, but I think Rishi Sunak actually is a bit of a John Major to Margaret Thatcher. I mean, he's actually nothing. I mean, he's done one good thing in the eyes of the Tories. He spent a bit of money to help us get through the pandemic.
But I think he is, but of course I think after the chaos of Boris Johnson, he's saying, well, he's a safe pair of hands, of course. That's the way the Tory MPs look at it, of course. I'm not saying he is, but that's the way they will look at it. So that's probably the main attraction.
But he's not going to go out and argue in a Boris fashion.
No, of course not.
For the levelling up. He's fundamentally an accountant.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah.
Who's going to help Rishi? Well, it's the others as well. Liz Truss is just a joke. And I think Priti Patel is just on another planet. That's what I think. Do you agree, listeners? Do we need to get rid of Boris, or shall we just continue? Better the devil you know. That's the other thing. So phone in and let us know. I can't actually see at the moment if we've got any comments. I might maybe on the wrong page, but we have other things to talk about. Other issues going on today. Oh, somebody's sent us a comment. At the moment, sadly, I can't actually read. Edwin. Hello, Edwin. Thanks for waiting. Thanks for coming on. Boris is going nowhere. The police intervention has actually saved his bacon. They will issue a slap on the fist. The same old cover-up nonsense. Well, I think you're right. I think Julian is known for being much more generous than I am, so I think we're probably stuck with him, but Julian is more open-minded.
Well, I'm no fan of Boris. I mean, let's get that right. So, but But I think, you know, these Tory MPs, I mean, the only thing they're interested in is retaining their seat, basically, at the next election. That's the only thing they're interested in. And, you know, it's going to be whatever helps them most to do that.
That will be the telling point, won't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay, well, we also wanted to have the other point, because I've always seen Boris, Macron in France, and Trump as a sort of triumvirate leading the capitalist fight back, shoveling profits into private pockets again. But they're all a bit stuck, really, aren't they? And of course, this may all pale into insignificance if we're actually at war with Russia by the end of the month. So that's the other thing that's sort of creeping up behind us. What do you reckon? Should we be getting our tin hats out?
No, short answer. I mean, but I think they've said anyway, and Biden said, and I think Boris Johnson was, I think, in Hungary today, or was it yesterday? I mean, they're not going to commit troops to the, you know, defense of Ukraine. So there isn't going to be war. If Russia does send troops in whatever form, they've said there's only going to be sanctions. There's not going to be war as such. So I think there's a lot of saber rattling going on both sides. And I think both sides are looking for concessions from the other.
So how did it start? I mean, is Putin really scared that Ukraine's going to go into NATO, and then all of a sudden NATO will go, oh, let's invade Russia, and he's got to stop it? Is it really that basic?
I mean, personally, I think Putin is using the weakness of the United States to try and gain some concessions from them. I think it's a sort of a high-class poker game in that sense, and each side are trying to bluff the other, personally. Now, the thing with that is, of course, it can go wrong. I'm not saying, you know, let's not be complacent about these things. They can go wrong. There's a lot of military hardware on both sides. And, you know, something disastrous could happen.
Do you think it's the weakness of the USA as revealed by the Afghanistan debacle last summer?
I agree.
Or is it just Biden being weaker than Trump?
No, I think absolutely. I don't think Biden's necessarily weaker than Trump. It's funnily enough, I think there's very little difference between the foreign policy, you know, pursued by Biden and the foreign policy pursued by Trump. I think there's quite a continuity there, to be honest with you. But yeah, I think your point is a good one, though. I mean, clearly, you know, the withdrawal of American troops to Afghanistan ended in chaos. You know, ended with the Taliban taking over, which I think, you know, if Trump had been in charge and withdrawn the troops in the same way, you know, I think the same thing would have happened. So yeah, but certainly I think it's weakness on the part of the United States, and I think Putin sees that, and I think Putin wants to try and take advantage.
Okay, so what do you think, viewers? Are we going to be at war? A few more comments coming in. Mohammed Mayamia Talukdar is agreeing with Edwin. That may be a first, as far as I can remember. But, and he then goes on to say, Julian, he wants to know your view on the report. Oh yes, the Metropolitan Police and Councils. We're going to go on to them. We need to talk about the police, really, because there's been the police are featured in the news twice this week. We just finish off the national news. We've had, I think it's just today, this report come out at last, where the police were investigating Charing Cross police station. And they've discovered that the police were racist, sexist, homophobic. They even were denigrating disabled people. You know, I mean, nobody was safe from this laddish canteen culture. I didn't realise it was that bad. What did you make of it?
Well, I mean, let's put it this way. I'm not a police officer. I don't know what goes on in police stations behind the scenes. I have to say, unfortunately, I'm not surprised. I mean, you know, a few years ago, a friend of mine, you know, was dating a police officer. she was saying. You know, some of the things he was telling her that goes on, you know, to the canteen culture, as it's called. It's just appalling. And, you know, I mean, something needs to be done about this. And for me, it all starts, you know, at the top, really. I mean, yes, you know, the people who have, you know, has been found to act in this way and act in a racist manner, you know, need to be sacked. You know, they shouldn't have their jobs. But clearly, you know, it starts at the top.
But it's worrying, isn't it? I mean, I think the figures were they investigated 14 police officers at Charing Cross in 9 different investigations. 2 resigned, so they avoided any disciplinary action. 2 were sacked, and all the rest went to disciplinary hearings, but remain essentially with the police, or I think one of them is actually working as a contractor for the police. How did that happen? Is that part of this? And even worse, I did read the coverage of the report. It said that the investigating body felt that this wasn't an isolated example, and the police needed looking at as a whole. And the investigating body also said, because of various investigations they're doing currently, other investigations. This was the one that's come out, it's been finished. It's a report into the police station, at Charing Cross Police Station, who mostly worked in Westminster, and it began in 2018, and it's taken until now. After the murder of Sarah Everard by a police officer, there's somebody doing a report on how that happened, and is this just the tip of the iceberg with the police?
It appears so, doesn't it? I mean, it appears so.
In which case, let me put this to you. Is this just the police is the same as the rest of society, or is there something special about the police? That's what that makes that lets this canteen culture survive.
Well, I mean, I think the whole system needs radically changing. You know, I'm a socialist. I think, you know, we need to radically change society, and part of that is the police. The police, you know, are there to impose law and order. You know, and, you know, clearly I think that is in the interest of the people who run and control society. So, you know, so this, as you know, racist behaviour of the police, sexist behaviour of the police and so on, it kind of goes hand in hand with that, I think, you know. I mean, as I said, I think it starts at the top, and ultimately I think the people at the top don't really care, and they don't, about all this stuff. As long as the police do what they're supposed to, basically, which is, you know.
Well, this is it, isn't it? It's, this is the force that just a few years ago was kettling students.
Yes, exactly.
You know, keeping students captive on the street for hours on end when they were protesting about student rights.
And you know, a couple of years ago, it was Extinction Rebellion, of course, and keeping them in check. You know, Black Lives Matter protests. And arresting, you know, BLM protesters. So yes, this is what they do, unfortunately.
But it's difficult, isn't it? Because for all of us who have these criticisms of the police force that we know, probably have had positive experiences as well, where we've been attacked or burgled or been with friends who've suffered, and we've had to call the police in, and they are our only resort a lot of the time. But also, I mean, I have seen police officers in Tower Hamlets really put themselves out, going above and beyond to deal with young people who've been attacked. I've sat with young people as they've told the police what happened, and the police have taken great care to hear their stories. You know, similarly, women complaining of being assaulted by people known to them. I've sat with on some of those interviews and seen excellent conduct, although mostly by women police officers, I must say. So it's mixed, isn't it? You know, you can't sort of not call on the police when you need them.
Yeah, I mean, but this is it, as you say. They kind of, you know, the only force out there who can do that sort of thing. But of course, you know, I mean, I'm not saying individual police officers perhaps try their best, Some of them, I think, genuinely want to help people. But it's a systemic thing. I mean, the Stephen Lawrence inquiry, decades ago now, found systemic racism in the police. And according to that report that's just, been published today, Charing Cross Station, it's the same thing, and there's been no change. Nothing has changed.
Final word on this report. See, what I was thinking was, is it contained to the police, or are there any other organisations that have this sort of culture? And it made me think 35 years ago, in the mid-1980s, we had Firefighter Langford on the Isle of Dogs with a national... sorry, I'm getting signals here. We have a call coming in. Hello, caller.
Hello. Hello.
Hello, who's calling?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
It's Rafik from Dublin, Isle of Dogs.
Hello, you're from the Isle of Dogs? Yes.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
We're all for that. What would you like to say to us?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we're not hearing you.
What happened? Labour leader can express basically that things he should say is very weak. So
you're talking about Boris again, yeah?
Yes.
You think he's very weak?
Yeah.
So what should he do?
He should be a strong, more stronger than as usual. So
You want him to be stronger, so you don't think he should resign?
Of course, yes, he should.
You talking about the Labour leader? Sir Keir Starmer?
Boris Johnson.
Oh, Boris Johnson, yes, absolutely.
What do you think about Keir Starmer? Do you think Keir Starmer should take over?
Not really.
Oh.
He's really too weak at the moment.
Well, what are we going to do? You don't want Boris? You don't want Keir Starmer? What's going to happen? We're going to have to send look for Rahman up to Westminster.
Come out from the country.
Sorry?
Maybe COVID?
COVID?
No, Jeremy Corbyn.
Yeah.
Oh, we won't get Jeremy back. Oh, well, that would be...
he's the best.
Okay, we'll pass the message on. Thank you.
I'd be in favour of that.
Yeah, we can't guarantee he would accept, but we'll tell him the telephoning masses from the Isle of Dogs want him back. Thank you very much for your call. I'm sorry I'm finding it difficult to hear callers, but join in. Julian will translate for me. And I was just talking about, yes, the fire brigades. They used to have these initiation ceremonies for new recruits, which were horrible. And they had a woman firefighter come to Millwall Fire Station, and she was subjected to the worst kind of assault, sexual assault. And the women's section of the local Labour Party went and demonstrated with our then MP Mildred Gordon about this, and it kicked something off. But nowadays, I don't think there is. Correct me if I'm wrong, viewers. I don't think there is such a nasty canteen culture in the fire service. And I'm wondering, is it because that trade union, the FBU, is more left-wing, more progressive, more aware, more work has been done about sexism and misogyny in the fire service, and it's held more to the left. That's right, that more to the left of the trade union. Whereas, of course, the police, as you say, they're a police force. There's a reason why they're called a police force, not the law and order brigade. And so maybe it's easier to reinforce that culture.
Yeah, I'm sure you got something there. I mean, of course, the police don't have a trade union. The Police Federation is not a trade union. So, they don't have any way, I suppose, then of addressing these issues because it's all from the top down, as I say. As I said, I think, it starts at the top. And I think the senior people in the Met have a lot to answer for.
But of course, there's another issue which my own raised about the police that's come out this week, or that's well, it's not actually a police matter, but it's so it's similar. Again, it's another report into a damning report. Julian used to, of course, be a Labour councillor for the Isle of Dogs, and Ma'am, you'll have to come back if this is not quite what you meant. But we've had the report today about the failure of police and councils to deal with sexual abuse of children, which I think we both found an upsetting document to read about. And we're not going to go into the very graphic details that are in the report about what's been found, but it's essentially been 6 local authorities were looked at and were investigated for how they dealt with reports of children being groomed. And it is just horrendous. It says, its findings are basically that the abuse rings that were found in Rotherham and a couple of other places have been dealt with, and there have been prosecutions, and it's as if councils thought, well, the whole problem then is dealt with. But councils and police are generally not working together, not keeping proper data on children being groomed, and it's particularly bad for children in the care of local authorities, or at least on the books of the local authorities. And I'm going to find, if you're just, excuse me, looking at my notes here, Sadiq Khan said he was utterly disgusted by the findings of the report. Is that enough? It's not about your feelings, Mr. Khan. It's about what you're going to do in London to have a different culture. Deputy Assistant Commissioner Javid says that the initial grooming investigations went on between 2016 and 18. And since then, well, what action has been taken since then? Let me tell you, let me continue this quote. Since then, every Met Police employee has been spoken to about responsible use of social media. That's not enough. Let's get this right. Councils have been blaming victims in this, and all areas investigated had signs of abuse taking place. Over the last few years, child sexual exploitation is designated a strategic policing priority. And to quote from the report, the performance of the police in Tower Hamlets is particularly troubling. The police force in Tower Hamlets told the inquiry there were no cases or issues with child sexual exploitation in the borough. The report goes on to say this cannot be right. And it quotes evidence of vulnerable children in Tower Hamlets attending parties in hotels, and that's like 11, 12-year-old children, attending parties in hotels with adult men, where they were plied with alcohol and drugs and then abused. And that is children known to social services. So what's going wrong in this area? I mean, Julian, you've looked at this report, and in terms of what it says about the council, in terms of what it says about the police and them working together, it's indefensible, isn't it?
Well, something's going wrong. Something clearly is going wrong. I mean, the Metropolitan Police in Tower Hamlets don't seem to know what's going on, and the council don't seem to know what's going on either. Both of them, both parties said there were no problems in Tower Hamlets, when clearly there are. You know, you just read out from from some of the reporting of the matter, and clearly there's an issue. Clearly there's a problem. So, as you say, it's very disturbing. It's, I think, okay, let's not be sensationalist about it, but clearly I think the police have questions to answer, and the council has questions to answer. And I'm a little surprised. I mean, perhaps we'll hear something from tomorrow. Perhaps they didn't want to release something on the day this report came out. But obviously, both the police and the council have seen this report before today. They'll have a chance to comment on the findings. So clearly they know about it. And clearly they've had a chance, to respond to it, at least initially. They haven't today. They might tomorrow, but I think they need to
get their act together.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's some very serious issues here, and these are the most vulnerable children.
I think we have another caller coming through, so I don't know what they want to speak about. Hello, caller. What's your name?
Hi, my name's Amy.
Amy.
Hi.
Oh, Amy, you'll know about this report. I mean, I know I was horrified to hear it. You must have been as well.
Yeah, to be honest, horrified, but not surprised, unfortunately.
Really?
In Tower Hamlets, we know that there have been for years, I mean, specifically since the 2017 Ofsted report, that there have been issues specifically with the council and also with the police in regards to multi-agency working together, like from the case of the girls from Bethnal Green, where these issues have been raised, lots of safeguarding issues have been raised and not dealt with. And it's like when you talk about culture, or Julian saying that there haven't been any statements from the council or from the police. It doesn't seem when any of this stuff happens that there are reports or statements from them apologising or admitting that failures have happened. It sort of seems like they just tried to cover up the stench of it all. But the problem is by doing that you're not actually facing the realities of what's actually happening within our community, if that makes sense. And so as a result of that,
yeah. I mean, Amy, there's a key, the government issues a document every year called Keeping Children Safe in Education. And that goes through all the things schools are expected to do to be aware of possible sexual abuse of all sorts of different categories, and how they're supposed to report it on and work together and so forth. I would have expected a councillor, any councillor in the borough, if you say to them, what's the council's doing about grooming of children for sexual abuse, to be able to answer. But I was at a loss for words, Amy. What do you think about it?
To be honest, Jenny, sorry, it's more of a cry than a laugh. It seems that the councillors, not all of them, but too many of the councillors that we have seem to just go along with the propaganda of trying to make the council look good instead of dealing with the actual issues that need to be dealt with. So, for instance, if we cared about grooming, why was there a serious case review not done on those children from Bethnal Green? They were groomed. Shamima Begum was married at the age of 15, was married to a 23-year-old male as soon as she hit the shores of Syria. If we cared about grooming, we would have dealt with that. But all they've done is obfuscate. And I've not really heard anyone. A couple of councillors have stood up, but no one's really stood up. It doesn't seem like there's a culture, it seems, within Tower Hamlets, unfortunately. And this has been said previously at overview and scrutiny committees when the Ofsted report, for instance, was being discussed, that there's a culture of saying that we're really good in Tower Hamlets, and then as a result of that, not facing the issues and covering up, in my opinion. But yeah, it's sad, and this just is another report that just shows that there is a lack of care. I'm not saying from social workers necessarily, but the systems that need to protect our children are not working, and John Biggs and his councillors are not doing what they need to do in order to hold the council to account. And this is also a multi-agency issue in terms of the police and the council not working together. And at the end, what happens? Our children are the ones who suffer. Thank you for listening to me.
Do you think, Amy, who's at fault here? Is it the councillors or is it the council staff?
I think it's everybody, because when it's the council obviously, the staff, the structures. There's obviously institutional issues there, so you can't necessarily place it on specific people. But I do think that the councillors are there to try and stick up for the community and to raise issues. And if they're not doing that because they're so busy trying to pacify, like, I don't know, just trying to make everything look good, then it's like that just doesn't. That's not what's supposed to happen, is it? Councillors are supposed to. I think the reason why I keep saying councillors, obviously it's the councils. There's an integral problem there, but we vote in our councillors so that they stick up for our communities, if that makes sense. And like I said, there are some councillors who say stuff, but they're often swept under the carpet or, just not listened to, unfortunately.
So, Julian, what do you make of what Amy's saying?
I think Amy's making some really good points. I mean, the Ofsted report she refers to, that's found all sorts of failings in the services of the council that, assist children and that. And of course, as Amy says, the message coming from the council afterwards was, okay, things have gone wrong, but we're putting things right. And this report today clearly shows things are not going right. Okay, it may not be everything that, that Ofsted looked at, but nevertheless, I think Amy makes a good point.
So, I mean, you used to be a councillor many years ago. Well, no, not that many years ago.
It was many years ago.
Julian, I mean, what was it like in your day? I mean, you were a backbench councillor, I think, for most, if not all of the time there. As a backbench councillor, would you be able to confidently talk to your constituents about, this is what the council's doing about grooming, or this is what the council's doing about sexual exploitation or looking after children?
I think so. I mean, obviously then, when I was a councillor, we didn't have a directly elected mayor. We got one now. And I think, I mean, this is about leadership. We elect the mayor, we elect councillors, as Amy said, to provide leadership to that council. And I think that's what they need to do. And I think Amy, hits the nail on the head when, she says too often, I think that they talk about how well the council is doing rather than dealing with the actual issues. And clearly there's an issue here that hasn't been dealt with.
So councillors should be scrutinising rather than being publicity agents for the council.
Scrutinising is one function. I think there are other functions as well. But I think Amy wants to.
Yeah, Amy, what can we do about it?
Sorry, before I go, thank you so much. I just also want to say, like, in terms of the Ofsted report, the council often cites posts, like, for instance, when this report that's come out today will cite that they had a good Ofsted report in 2019. Now, Ofsted are obviously not doing their job either, if that makes sense, because there are issues. There have been issues with the send provision. There was another report done by Ofsted in regards to that. And also it worries me that Debbie Jones, who was previously the director of Ofsted and had sort of had to leave her job and apologise because she oversaw the Rotherham issues, and there were problems with assessing children and not admitting that sexual abuse and stuff had gone on there, that she then became our Director of Children's Services. And within 1 year, the council apparently managed to turn around their inadequate Ofsted rating to a good rating. Now, that doesn't seem like that's possible, if that makes sense, to do within a year. And I think it's quite evident that these issues keep happening. And I don't mean to blame councillors, but I just wish that they would stick up more. There aren't many other avenues that we have as residents into the council to be able to raise these issues. And if we do raise these issues with them, I think they need to be proactive in pulling up the council and holding them to account so that things change. Thank you so much, both of you.
No, that's all right, Debbie. Amy, thanks for coming on and raising the issue. It's clearly something we'll be talking about again as we go towards the elections in May. Thank you very much.
No, thank you, Amy.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Bye. We've had some more comments come through on the Facebook. Those of you watching us on the Bod Talk Facebook page, you can see the comments probably more easily than I can. Saeed Ali says he agrees with somebody. Oh, with Ravi from the Isle of Dogs. Yes, he was on earlier. The Labour leader is too weak and unable to hold Boris to account. Unfortunately, we're in a very bad situation, but Boris needs to go.
Yeah.
So I think we're agreed on that. Thank you, Saeed, for coming in with that one. And our friend Mayum is had a second go. He's come back. The John Biggs Labour administration. Yes, the one that brought you an Ofsted report that found out children's services were inadequate. Yes, the administration that had to have children's services supervised by government intervention advisors has now brought you another own goal. The London Borough of Tower Hamlets was one of the 6 areas looked at in this report into grooming. And again, he quotes, he's got a different quote. The report says, 1 child in care in Tower Hamlets went missing 107 times in 2 years and was found to be a victim of modern slavery. So, and he contrasts the current situation with the 2012 Ofsted report into children's services, which of course was when we had a different mayor, when Lutfi Rahman was mayor, when the services were described as good, but with outstanding features.
Mm.
So what happened between 2012 and 2017? Often John Biggs says that I'm just putting words into his mouth, but I've heard him talk about this before, and he seems to say that the council had to be reorganised after Lutfi Rahman's time as mayor, and they changed the sort of structure of children's services and improved everything. But if the children's services were inadequate in 2017, John Biggs was elected in June 2015. So what was he doing for 18 months with a disorganised council that was really bad and getting a really good Ofsted report? And why didn't he act more quickly before the 2017 Ofsted report came in and said that it was all bad? It really doesn't make a lot of sense.
Absolutely.
Final word on that, Julian?
Well, just that, 2017 is 5 years ago. That Ofsted report was 5 years, about 5 years to sort it out. And they haven't. Clearly, they haven't.
It wasn't a good report in 2019. They had these government advisors in. I can't remember which councils they came from, but were helping them improve. And the 2019 wasn't sort of, oh, it's great. It was a report which said, well, we've pulled it back a bit.
Mm.
John Biggs, if you're listening and you feel that's not a fair summary, please ring us up. We've still got time to take a call or put a comment on Facebook or whatever. We keep saying we're very happy to have John Biggs on the Tuesday programme defending his record. But I think he must be washing his hair because he never responds positively. So, however, our invitation remains. Okay, that's the end of course. So we said there were a couple of other. Did we say there were a couple of other things we wanted to talk about tonight? I've got a feeling that we did. Can't remember what they. Can't remember what they are. So, and unfortunately, for some reason, I don't have a timer on my thing that I'm looking back at, which probably has a word. So I can't actually see how many minutes we've done, but we've probably done very nearly enough.
Okay.
So you think times are going to get worse?
Unfortunately, yes. I think, some of the comments made about Keir Starmer, I think are bang on. I mean, they are going to get worse. Clearly, as I said, the Tory MPs are holding on, trying to hold on to their seats, and unfortunately, Sir Keir is not holding Boris Johnson to account.
Well, Keir, get your act in gear, pull your socks up. That's what we say to you from East London. Now, before we close, lovely discussion. Thanks to the callers who came in. We have a video to show you because earlier this week I spoke to a man whose name I have, of course, forgotten, Ratan, who is the chief executive of the Capital Kids Cricket.
Oh.
And that group has launched a campaign. It launched it on Friday, called Bowl Out Racism, which is about looking at it comes after the disclosures that were made by various famous cricketers from Yorkshire and Essex about racism they had experienced, and they made these disclosures in the House. One of them went to the House of Commons. One of them, Jahid, we had on Tuesday show last week or the week before, talking about his experiences in Essex. So I was very pleased to be able to get 15 minutes with Capital Kids Cricket Chief Exec and just have a word about the campaign that he was going to launch the following day. So he's talking about something in the future, which is now in the past. But nonetheless, I think he makes a number of very good points about the campaign. And I hope everybody listening who's connected in any way with sport will go onto the Capital Kids Cricket website, find out about the campaign, and take it into their school, their community club, or whatever, wherever you can. But let's now go to our video and see what Ratan had to say to me on Thursday last week. Pleased to welcome Ratan from Capital Kids Cricket to the show today. Ratan, you have recently toured the ICC World Cup around East London. How did that go down with the people who saw it?
It went really well, and I never thought that it can generate that much interest. In fact, this trophy, I brought it for 2 events. One is, of course, tomorrow, which is our Bowl Out Racism campaign's launch, and I thought to take it to some places. So of course, Mahi from Sportive requested me for the trophy too. So I took it to them, and I found there are interest. Then I took it to another school the following day, London Enterprise. London Enterprise Academy, yes.
Yeah.
And I found such an interest. Then I thought, why not taking to the community, the clubs that we support. And then gradually, and from the different community, from business group, from different charities, and everybody was so interested, and they wanted to take pictures. Would you believe, last almost 13 days, it took about nearly 30 trips across London. So I was in Shenfield, I was in Redbridge, I was in, of course, Newham, Tower Hamlets, Falcon Forest, Southall, Westminster, Tunbridge Wells in Kent, and there are so many other requests. Yeah, I think we don't understand sometimes, that how to engage people. That this is I found this World Cup winning trophy. It's symbol of unity. And it inspires so many people that can be used for various positive things. So, yeah, it was really good.
Certainly. I mean, we owe you, a debt of gratitude in East London in terms of all you've done to inspire young people and bring them into cricket and give them an avenue to play and to watch. We are very grateful to you across East London for all that you and Capital Kids Cricket have done to make things possible for our young people. But you mentioned there, and the World Cup has obviously helped inspire as well. You mentioned the Bowl Racism Out of Cricket campaign.
Yeah, so we started
what is that campaign?
We are launching, which is tomorrow. We have done the countdowns since end of November. We have started the countdown, and the day is tomorrow. We'll be launching at the Lord's Indoor Ground, indoor school, where the ECB, the key people from ECB and from London Mayor's Office, and all other county cricket boards from across London, MCC, various clubs and organizations are coming just to show their support, and our launching is about creating a platform where everybody come together to work for a common goal. And racism and discrimination, it's, if you wanted to go in deep, it's quite broader subject, that our main aim is to educate young people. So we wanted to make sure that we develop something very simple so understand by the young people. And our aim is, young people, if they understand now, they will not make the mistake, so that they will not do wrong thing when they are growing up and become adult. If we can see the recent cricket saga, I could say that, that starting from Azim Rafiq and various other things, including Jahid Ahmed from Essex. A lot of things are historical. It is coming up now. This should have been come out then. All right?
Yes.
But during this period, we lost so much of talented because of racism and discrimination. They left the sports, not necessarily in the sports, many other industries. Because of that, their dream could not be fulfilled the way they wanted.
Yeah.
All right. So we wanted to make a level playing field for everybody. So establishment should understand the need of the sports that can bring people together. Sports should not be discriminating. Sports should not be dividing people. Sports unite people. So we wanted to create a platform where everybody come together. And again, our main objective will be working with the young people in the school, because we as a charity work many schools across London. We work in 17 London boroughs. And
of course you do, yes.
Day in, day out to the different schools and the clubs, so that they are the starting point. So we have already started. It's not that we are waiting for the launching. No, we have already started. Our coaches are trying to pass the message across to the young people in the primary school, in the secondary school. At the moment,
well, you mentioned
what is racism? Racism is disrespect. You should not disrespect anybody, their culture, their faith, their race, anything. So you need to respect. And this comes with our core value of spirit of cricket. So if you wanted to play cricket, you need to follow spirit of cricket and you need to obey that rule. That means it's a respect. So it's quite linked together.
Yes.
So if you wanted to play cricket, there's no place for discrimination. There's no place for racism. So then you must have might have to do something else, not cricket or any other sports.
Yes. Well, we you mentioned Jahed, and we did actually interview him. We had a long discussion with Jahed and with Shul Malik from Tower Hamlets Sport just last week. And that's one of the reasons why we're very pleased to feature this campaign, because we pinched the title of your campaign for our programme and discussing precisely this, how to kick cricket out of sport. And one thing one point that we covered, that was particularly, I think, interesting was what do white people do? Should a campaign to kick racism out of sport be led by black and ethnic minority people, or how do white supporters of that aim join in without taking over the campaign? So that was a really interesting discussion, and we touched as well on ethnic minorities and how do we involve girls in cricket as well as boys. I think we heard a bit about that.
Yeah, so we have already girls project, so that we run a girls project in Newham, Waltham Forest. We engage moms and girls. We have the cricket program with the moms and girls, so that we are encouraging girls to be part of the sports, particularly cricket. It's hard because of the culture in East London, because of South Asian our culture, that the girls wanted to play with the girls and they wanted to be within their own environment. We are trying to do the same with running the girls only club within the secondary schools. We are running girls only session within the indoor nets. So we are trying to encourage, and at times probably they will come out and play outdoor. They are doing at the moment. We are working with university girls. We are working with 4 universities. Their cricket team, so that again the girls are taking part. So we are encouraging. The ECB has a role to play. They are trying their best to encourage girls to be part of it more broader. Yes, so we all should encourage. And as you mentioned, how we can get the establishment, if we can talk about the white community, like different governing body to come and work together. So this is how our effort is, to bring them under one umbrella. So we from the grassroots, from the different communities come together with the mainstream governing body. So like, for example, football run by the
whoever runs it. Yes.
PFA or whatever, and cricket run by the England Cricket Board. So when the England Cricket Board can buy into our program, I hope so, there will be, because this is how they are coming in tomorrow. The ECB's chairman coming, the ECB's chief executive coming, their head of communications coming, their vice chairman coming, the London region heads are coming, so that they are coming with a big contingent, which is very encouraging, not only for us, for everybody.
Well, we need them to take action, don't we?
That's right.
Last week, we're not talking about a bit of name calling.
That's right. And our campaign again, our campaign again, not to talk about past. We'll not talk about the past. Yes, we took lesson. People had the lesson. All right. We need to move forward. We need to take the positive energy from whatever happened to make some very good things for the new generation, so that we can see more Black and Asian minorities go to the mainstream sports. From our side, it's cricket, and they play professional cricket, and they enjoy the sports. It's not necessary that they have to be playing for the academy or first-class cricket. As long as whatever they play, they enjoy the environment, they enjoy welcoming. This is what they want, and this is what is our campaign for.
That's a lovely note on which to end this brief interview. I hope you will have a great success with the Bowl Races Out of Cricket campaign. I hope that you will get support from the authorities, and that we see a few more capitals having their cricket clubs, because I think East London News has often covered the activities of your organisation, possibly before you were involved even. And it's clearly doing a great job inspiring the playing of cricket. And it's not as if the England team didn't need to see the new generation coming through, is it? We're not at the moment getting a great deal of inspiration from them. But are you looking forward to the next season? Do you think we'll see a better performance?
Definitely, England going with a bad pitch. I think they will come. They're a very good team. They're a very good, talented players. I think they need to start again. They need to sort out few other bits and balls here and there, starting from the selection, starting from the team management and the combination of the team. I think they need to do a fresh start. This is a talented group England has, but again, it's all about, it's not working together for some reason. The spirit is not there for some reason, and people are distracted. And there are various reasons we can talk about. We can talk about the COVID, they are in the bubble, out of families, all right, and so on. But there is no one solution, all right. But I think they will come out and they will do well.
Okay, well, hopefully your campaign will just be a little bit which will push them further forward. It's been a delight talking to you. Wish you all the best with your campaign, and hopefully we can check in again in a few months and see how things are going.
Sure. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that interview. It was very kind of Ratan to give us a bit of time. His campaign is now properly launched and up and running. So do check out the Capital Kids Cricket website. You can also go on to East London News and read the articles there about the launch of the campaign, and see the appearance of the ICC World Cup trophy again, which has been going around East London and actually made it to Lords last Friday for the launch. So, Julian, I don't suppose you know much about cricket. They don't have it in Wales, apart from Glamorgan, do they?
Well, yeah, they do. It's very big in Wales, actually. But yeah, absolutely.
Really, cricket?
Yeah, supposedly. It's what rugby players play during the summer.
Ah, right. Okay.
So yeah, but you are right, though. I don't know a huge amount about cricket, but obviously it's a great initiative. The sorts of stories that Yorkshire cricket players have been coming out with are absolutely horrendous.
And Jahid on our show, a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
What about rugby? Is there any rugby? All seems to be a sort of traditionally masculine sport. Am I right, or is that just a prejudice? There's a diversity in rugby.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't like to say the situation is better in rugby than other sports. I'm not sure that can be said. But, you know, you've had gay rugby players come out, where you haven't really at the highest level in soccer, at least not in England anyway. And, you know, I mean, you know, rugby still has issues, of course. I think all sports do. I wouldn't like to say it's say better than cricket. You know, it has issues, and you know we've got to tackle them.
Well, tonight we've been really talking about diversity in many different areas, and how powerful people and the establishment and institutions seem to be acting against diversity, and maybe as we carry on campaigning for simple things like sport or looking after our children or having a decent police service, we need to keep these things in mind. There's so much more that we could have said, but keep in touch with us through East London News. And I don't know if we can show the address, email address on the screen now, but keep in touch with us. And if you would like to feature your campaign on next week's The Tuesday Show, do give us an email, and I'll be pleased to talk to you during the week and set something up. So thank you for watching, thank you for commenting, thank you for ringing in. And just one last thing to say, Benji, it's bedtime now, you can go to sleep. So with that final detail attended to, it's good night from Julian.
Yeah, good night. Thank you.
And it's good night from me, and we'll see you again next Tuesday. Good night.